there's been another change of plans for this design work. So since Bones has started sitting down with me to work together on these character designs, he suggested that I feel like such a hypocrite for going back on this, but he's like, maybe instead of designing all the characters and then refining them, how about we just refine the characters as we come upon them? And I was like, okay, fine. So today I am continuing to work on Princess Ice. She is a feisty princess kitten, and yeah, so we sat down, we had a very good initial idea of what we wanted her design to be. She's very, like I said, she's very tough, she's very feisty. She spends most of her time being angry or upset. But we also want her to look like a cute little 6-year-old kitten. So, yeah. And I know when kittens are 6, they're not kittens, they're cats, but this is like an anthro cat. Yeah. So, okay. Right. So we had this base for how we wanted her to look. So we were taking, I guess, inspiration or cues from characters we've previously designed, namely Princess Lace and Queen Snow and King Mittens, who are the family of Princess Ice. And so we had their designs like pretty much down pat. So we were like, okay, let's take like Princess Lace, her sister, and make like start with her as a base and then create like a more like a character who's more like Ice. So we're like, okay, so like really cute. I'm not explaining this well. Lace has her shapes are all based off like kind of curved teardrop shapes. So that is what we based like her fur shapes off of, and like her ears and all that stuff. And then like lots of circles because she's very young and cute and naive looking. And then her mother, Queen Snow, is very angular. She's made of like triangles. And the father, King Mittens, he's made of like petal shapes. So we wanted to mix Lace with Snow and Mittens. So like we wanted her to be like really fluffy like her dad. But we wanted the angularness of her mom because like we wanted it to signify that she's very tough, she's fighty, like the mom is very like cool and tough. So we wanted similar things. And then so Lace, the other daughter, is very much, she looks a lot like her mom, but we used like the soft shapes to distinguish her personality. So we were like, okay, so let's take the angular shapes of the mom, but apply like the fluffiness and the roundness of the dad. So yeah, it's a very different experience having all these characters to like build off of. So it's basically like we have the base made for this character. So it was very easy to like extrapolate on it. So I did a lot of like iterations of like, okay, how exactly do I want the fur to be shaped? And then eventually we started going into say like eye shape, focusing on facial expressions, because like I mentioned in my last vlog, it's great to draw your characters expressing as they would in the comic, so you get a good sense of like, you know, as they're going through the script and going through the emotions of the story, like this is how they'll actually look, so that you already have experience making them express and doing things. You don't just have like a turnaround sheet. Don't get me wrong, turnaround sheets are super valuable and totally make them, especially when you're starting out your design, because they're a great reference, they're a great starting point to like work off of. But yeah, so we wanted to make sure that she expresses in a way that shows her character. So yeah, messing around a lot with that. I had a lot of trouble with her eyes. I think I mentioned this in the last vlog too, but like she's got very like sharp, elegant looking eyes, but we still wanted her to look young. So what I tried to do was like, okay, I'll start by drawing her looking a little bit older. So maybe, because my base, like my default character tends to look like a teenager. So I was like, okay, I'll start with that. I'll start with my default and then get her look down, and then I will age her down afterwards. So like instead of focusing on like the cute signifier, so like big eyes or like roundness, of shapes. I was like, I will start a lot more angular and then start adding that stuff back in so that her character isn't defined by looking young and cute. Does that make sense? I think. I hope. And then we also started getting into the clothing design, which I'm super excited about because it's always so fun, is figuring out what the characters will wear, and I've been wanting to get into it more, as I've talked a lot about in these vlogs. It really defines the character, and you can play around a lot with their shapes. Because a good character design has like a through line of a certain shape. So for example, with Princess Lace, we used like teardrops and stuff. So like her clothing reflects a lot of that. So with Ice, you know, we wanted that really angular kind of like angular triangle with, shoot, I can't remember the names of triangles, but they have like it's not equilateral, like, no, that's not the word. Oh no. Not all the sides are evenly length. It's hard to talk. Not all the sides have an even length, and they're triangles. That's her shape. Oh my gosh. That was hard. But yeah. So those shapes can appear throughout her design. So I was very excited to like figure out how to do that. So we started off with her clothing, talking about comparisons to other characters. So we found a lot of comps for like, I mean, there's a lot of comparison between Princess Ice and her family, which are characters that are already designed, but we also decided like, okay, what are some characters that Ice is inspired from that can influence the clothing and be like a starting point. Because we've done that in the past with other characters where we're like, okay, this character is very inspired by like, I don't know, a character from Zelda or Sailor Moon or something. So let's borrow a lot of shapes and ideas from that and then make it our own and make it attached to the character. It's a good starting point to have comps. It gives you a lot of like visual shorthands. So for example, if it's like, well, I have a princess character who's very comparable to, say, like Princess Zelda, so I will pull inspiration from her clothing and like look at characters that have similar clothing or like historical dresses of princesses and see like how they work and stuff. So it's a good starting point. Funnily enough, Ice is actually, we based a lot of her outfits off of Princess Zelda. Because we were like, because like in some iterations, Zelda's like, okay, not some, most, lots, I don't know. What is it? Because Princess Zelda, she's like, she can be a very tough character. Like, say like in Wind Waker, she's like Tetra in, like she's in Smash Bros and stuff where, you know, she still looks cool and badass, but like, she's still like very elegant and pretty. So we started off there as like our base comp and then started building off of it. So we're like, okay, I want very like angular shapes to her dress, but it's still a dress that like her mom would dress her up in, so she'd still look like elegant and floofy, I don't know. She'd still look like a princess, but we didn't want her to be like all soft curves and like ruffles and fluff. So we were like, okay, like we want a very angular dress that's still cute and pretty and elegant, but a lot more bare bones. Initially, my idea was to give her like a very like fluffy kind of like Victorian dress, because she's got like a stuffed animal that she loves and carries around, and she's tough but she's still cute. And I was like, okay, maybe her mom would dress her up in like frilly dresses, but in the end we decided to like move away from that and stick with the base shape of the triangles. So yeah, initially I did a lot of like soft curves, but eventually things got more angular as I went along. It's been great sitting down with Bones to like talk about this stuff, because I'll put down like a little sketch and he'll be like, okay, I like this part, like I like the shape of her fur, but I don't like the way you did the eyes here, and this is why. Like, it's really great to have feedback in the moment. So if you do work with a writer, like take the time to like sit down with them and work on designs together if you have the chance. It will definitely save you time of like, you know, completing a design, sending it off, and then making changes. If you can. It's tough. Because, like, I'm very lucky that I live with my writer, so it's very easy to be like, come sit here with me while I draw. I'm sure it's a combination of, like, characters that influence Ice's design have already been made, but I found designing her has gone a lot faster than, like, previous characters I've worked on so far in these vlogs. And yeah, so I think that definitely, I guess what definitely contributes to that is talking with Bones right from the get-go. And yeah, the characters she's inspired from are already designed, so it's very easy to, like, build off of that and really refine her personality more. But I'm very pleased with how things have turned out so far with her design. In fact, initially when Bones and I were first designing Ninepoint, so back when we were designing our prologue, we actually would just sit down on the couch every morning and, like, draw for half an hour before I'd leave for work. And yeah, and it's really fun to do that again, to get that really quick feedback and to discuss things. Because yeah, I've talked about this before, but, like, I definitely suffer from, like, self-doubt when making decisions. So I'll be like, I want to go this way, but I'm really not sure if it's correct. And then I worry, and then things kind of look, I don't push things as far as I could. And I think a lot of it is attributed to, like, self-doubt or not being sure that I'm going in the right direction. Or maybe my idea of a character is just totally off base, which can definitely happen. I feel like it would be a lot easier if I was in charge of all the character writing as well. So if you're in that position where you're doing, like, all the writing and scripting as well as the art, I think you definitely have an advantage of knowing exactly what you want. But yeah, I've talked about it before. I keep saying that. I need to stop. It is also nice to have another influence on your work who can give you ideas that you wouldn't explore otherwise. And it's always nice to have a fresh set of eyes to tell you if, you know, is what you're drawing actually cool and looks good? Because it's very easy to be like, yeah, this idea is great, and then you show it to someone and they're like, that looks silly. That's happened to me quite a few times. And yeah, and it's just important to get that feedback to catch when you're drawing something that isn't as cool as you thought it was. It's also really nice working with comparisons again. I find trying to start a design with no idea of what you want, like, because I usually start a design with a general feeling of what the character's like. So for example, Ice, it's like, okay, she's like a cute little princess and she's also really tough and fighty. But, like, it's really nice to have just a visual design to pull inspiration from, where it's like, okay, I like this kind of, like, tunic for the top of the dress, but I want something else for the sleeves. Or, you know, you could see a character design that you really like and go like, okay, well, how does this clothing actually work? And then, you know, you start looking at medieval dresses and how people would put them on and stuff. So yeah, it's very nice to have just a starting point laid out for you. Yeah, it's just easier to build off something that already exists than to try and make up something completely original in your head. Maybe that's just me. I think it's just me. Possibly. I don't know. But I get very, like, when I try to come up with something straight from my head, it usually turns out really bland. It must be a me thing, because I definitely skimp on details. I don't know, it's just me. I'm like, I value speed more than, like, little detailed intricate work, which is very silly and I need to stop it and I'm trying to work on it. But yeah, I find my initial designs are always very bland, like they lack small details, they'll usually have, like, an okay silhouette that suits the shapes that I've decided on. Because I do tend to work, like, very big picture, so it's nice to have something to base details off of, because I definitely have a lot of trouble, like, thinking of them or picturing them. And it's also another reason why I really like having Bones around, because he'll be like, try giving this character accessories, or, you know, the bottom of the skirt needs a pattern or something like that. This needs more contrast, things like that. It's great working with him because he has a very good eye for, like, art direction. Yeah, it's definitely a blessing to have a writer who has a very strong, like, visual vocabulary. Like, Bones definitely knows, like, what he wants. He's pretty versed in the basics of art, so, like, because he's worked on design before, and he attended a lot of the art classes I did. So yeah, he's very good at articulating, like, ideas, and he knows when something doesn't look quite right. So yeah, it's nice to work with someone who knows what they're talking about and that knows the terminology. It's also great working with someone who will, like, challenge me, because it's nice and it isn't when you show someone something and they're like, that's great, it's perfect. And you're like, no, there's something wrong with it. I know there is. Or, like, this could be pushed more or improved. So it's really nice to have someone who will tell you, like, yeah, this needs work. This isn't what I envisioned. Again, maybe I really like that because I do tend to miss out on the details and I go for quantity over quality. So yeah, I really need someone to act a bit more as a director for me, and that really helps. It's also really helpful to have designs on paper, because I can imagine a character all I want. Like, I can imagine Ice and be like, okay, she's like a long hair, black cat, she's a princess, and I have this, like, vague idea of a character in my mind, but as soon as I start putting it down on paper, like, the details are hard. I wonder if other people face this as well, where it's very difficult to, like, pinpoint details and stuff. I don't know. Tell me how you guys deal with this. Do you have trouble with, like, big picture stuff where you're too focused on details and then, like, the overall image doesn't look good, but, like, small parts of it do? Or are you like me, where, like, you can get the overall, like, picture to look okay at a distance, but as soon as you go close, things go weird? Like, I don't know. Well, I think that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or if you'd like to request a video topic, please leave a comment down below. If you would like to see more videos about webcomics and writing webcomics and all that good stuff, please don't forget to subscribe. Did I say that right? And also, if you would like to read The Scourge of Ninepoint issue number 1, it is now on sale in our store. So go check out the link in the description. Alright, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!